All right, I need to show you something. Take a look at this chart. It comes from a 2022 modeling study where nutrition researchers estimate how different food choices could affect life expectancy using the latest science. And what they found blew me away. Shifting to an optimized plant-based diet was associated with around a decade of additional life expectancy when the change was made in your 20s, 30s, or 40s. And even when the switch happened later in life, the model still estimated several additional years of life expectancy. Even 80-year-olds can gain 3 additional years of life just by changing their diet. But here's the part that really caught my attention. The optimal diet used in this study did not even focus on the best plant foods for longevity. So in this video, I want to take things one step further. I'm going to be breaking down the top 10 plant foods most strongly linked to a longer, healthier life based on decades of scientific research. Oh, and real quick before we dive in, I just want to let you know that there is no need to take notes during this video. I put everything that we're covering into a free top 10 longevity foods guide that you can download in the description or by scanning the QR code on the screen. It's a super simple one-stop reference with all the foods plus their optimal serving sizes, a daily checklist, and more. So go ahead and download that, and let's dive into food number 1, broccoli sprouts. Cruciferous veggies like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, kale, and bok choy are the only foods that contain sulforaphane, which is a really important compound. I know the word sounds a little bit weird, but it has powerful antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and also anti-cancer effects. So all cruciferous veggies pack some sulforaphane, but broccoli is the richest source of sulforaphane, and broccoli sprouts, which are my probably current favorite vegetable, take this even further and contain roughly 10 to 100 times more sulforaphane than mature broccoli, which is really impressive coming from some tiny little seeds. What makes sulforaphane so powerful is that it flips on your body's own defense and detox systems. A key result of this activation is that it helps the body target cancer cells while protecting healthy cells. Sulforaphane helps to block cancer-causing chemicals, it slows the growth of damaged cells that could turn cancerous, and it also reduces DNA damage that can trigger cancer in the first place. Beyond its anti-cancer effects, sulforaphane supports brain and eye health, it reduces chronic inflammation, it lowers blood pressure, it improves cardiovascular markers, and it also helps to regulate blood sugar in people with type 2 diabetes. Basically, sulforaphane is a superhero. Many of sulforaphane's longevity benefits appear to come from its ability to activate NRF2. NRF2 functions like a master on switch for your cell's internal cleanup crew. When activated, it turns on hundreds of protective genes that help to neutralize free radicals, repair DNA, and ramp up detoxification enzymes within minutes. This system-wide protection is why NRF2 is often described as a guardian of health span, helping slow biological aging rather than simply treating its consequences. Like many systems in the body, NRF2 activity naturally declines with age. But the good news is that it can be switched back on through regular exercise and by eating cruciferous veggies, especially our friends broccoli sprouts. So I've fallen in love with making broccoli sprouts. They have this really nice, fresh, crunchy, slightly peppery taste that I really enjoy. And you can throw this on everything. I like to throw it on sandwiches. You can also throw it on salads or put it in a bowl. And I would recommend adding a little bit of vinegar or some citrus juice because that can help to increase the sulforaphane formation. And also it's best to eat these raw because if you heat them up, then you start to destroy the sulforaphane. So you just going to kill that cancer and eat tons of sulforaphane. And you don't need a large amount to get meaningful levels of sulforaphane. Just about a quarter cup of fresh broccoli sprouts a day does the trick. Now you can find broccoli sprouts at many grocery stores, but I would recommend trying to grow them yourself on your kitchen counter. It's super simple, inexpensive. It also provides a steady supply of arguably the healthiest food in the entire world. And I kill basically all plants I've ever been given or have bought, and I can make broccoli sprouts, so you probably can too. Now, broccoli sprouts are a fantastic example of the remarkable power of cruciferous veggies, but another standout in this family with its own unique longevity benefits is our next food, Kale. Kale is a nutrition powerhouse rich in vitamins A, C, and K, key minerals like calcium, iron, and potassium, and it's loaded with dietary fiber. It contains a wide range of protective plant compounds, including polyphenols, which have antioxidant properties, and glucosinolates that can be converted into sulforaphane. Together, this dense nutrient profile is why kale is widely classified as a superfood. And this is some Tuscan kale, which is honestly my favorite. That's the taste of health right there. Diets rich in these nutrients are consistently linked to lower rates of heart disease, cancer, and premature death in large population studies. One of kale's most unique longevity benefits comes from its carotenoids, especially lutein and zeaxanthin. These compounds accumulate in the retina where they act like built-in sunglasses, filtering harmful blue light and protecting the cells responsible for sharp, detailed vision. Higher blood levels of lutein and zeaxanthin are linked to better memory, slower cognitive aging, and a reduced decline in vision. Kale contains far more of these compounds than most foods, and even small daily amounts of kale can raise these protective pigment levels within weeks. By helping preserve vision and support brain function over time, lutein and zeaxanthin play a really important role in healthy aging and long-term independence. Kale comes in several varieties, each with slightly different textures and uses. Curly kale is the most common and holds up well when cooked. Lacinato or Tuscan kale is more tender and slightly richer in carotenoids. Red Russian kale contains additional antioxidant pigments in its purple stems and leaves, while baby kale has a milder flavor and softer texture that works especially well in raw salads. However, when it comes to their nutrition, all varieties deliver essentially the same core longevity benefits. Now, if you say you don't like kale, it's worth experimenting with different varieties and preparations. Baby kale is often the easiest place to start, and kale is incredibly versatile. You can saute it, bake it into chips, blend it into smoothies, or simply eat it raw in salads. For everyday salads and bowls, I would recommend removing the stems and finally shredding the leaves to make the texture more tender and easier to enjoy. All right, up next, we've got garlic, which happens to be one of my favorite flavors. But it's not just a delicious flavor booster, it's actually one of the most powerful research-backed foods for both cardiovascular and overall health. In a study of 27,000 older adults in China, people who ate garlic at least 5 times a week had about an 11% lower risk of death, and those who had been eating garlic regularly since around age 60 lived roughly 1 year longer than those who rarely ate it. Put simply, 11% lower risk of death means that garlic eaters died less often during the study, not that each person gets 11% more life. When you follow thousands of people for years, that small difference in death rates adds up to about 1 year of extra life on average in frequent garlic eaters, with the strongest benefits seen in those who started earlier in life. So whenever you hear reduced risk of death from a study, think of it as shifting the longevity odds in your favor. And the dose that moves the odds can be surprisingly small. Just a quarter teaspoon of garlic powder per day has been shown to improve artery function, slow atherosclerosis, lower LDL cholesterol, and help with fat loss. In one study, that tiny daily dose helped overweight adults lose nearly 6 pounds of body fat in 15 weeks compared to a placebo. That is some powerful stuff, and I am very happy to eat some more garlic. Garlic also packs serious anti-inflammatory power. In human studies, even a third of a teaspoon of garlic powder significantly reduced pain and disease activity in women with rheumatoid arthritis. And on the Dietary Inflammatory Index, garlic ranks in the top tier of anti-inflammatory foods, right alongside heavy hitters like ginger, onions, and turmeric. And when it comes to cancer-fighting power, garlic is truly in a league of its own. In a fascinating study where researchers juiced 34 different vegetables and tested their extracts against multiple types of cancer cells, garlic outperformed every other vegetable. In several cancer lines, including breast, brain, lung, pancreatic, prostate, and stomach cancers, garlic extract reduced cancer cell growth to almost zero. And there was another interesting pattern that the researchers found. The most powerful anti-cancer vegetables all came from the allium family, like garlic and leeks, and the cruciferous family, including broccoli, cabbage, and Brussels sprouts. That connection makes sense because one of garlic's strongest bioactive compounds, allicin, is named after the allium family itself. Allicin is linked to lower blood pressure, better cholesterol, and stronger immune function. Fresh garlic delivers the highest levels because allicin breaks down quickly with heat and processing, which is why raw garlic consistently performs the best in antioxidant and anti-cancer studies. In fact, I got a couple pieces of garlic right over here. I chop up a clove or two of raw garlic every day and add it to my lunch. And that sharp, spicy bite of the garlic is the allicin forming. And that's how you know that garlic is doing its thing. And if raw garlic is tough for you to eat, a simple trick is to chop up a clove, let it sit for 15 minutes, and then swallow the pieces with water, which is kind of like having a lot of little garlic pills. I've come to really enjoy the taste of raw garlic because it feels super potent. Feels like it's working in my body, and I know that it's killing potential cancer cells and helping me to become as healthy as possible. So, could just pop in your mouth and chew through it. Oh, Allison. Wow, my mouth is on fire. Now, garlic is definitely the heavy hitter in the allium world, but the next food on this list brings its own unique kind of longevity protection, and it actually doesn't come from a plant at all. Let's talk about the power of mushrooms. Out of more than 100 compounds measured in the bloodstreams of thousands of people, the one most strongly linked with the lowest rates of disease and death was a molecule called ergothioneine. Some researchers, including the renowned biochemist Dr. Bruce Ames, even referred to it as a longevity vitamin because of its strong associations with healthy aging. Mushrooms are by far the richest dietary source of ergothioneine, often providing 10 to 50 times more than other foods. Different mushroom varieties offer different strengths. Wild porcini mushrooms contain the highest ergothioneine levels, several times more than oyster and shiitake mushrooms, which themselves contain about 3 to 4 times more than the common white, cremini, or portobello mushrooms. And all mushrooms provide a bit of spermidine, which is an important longevity compound involved in autophagy and cellular cleanup. Now, I'll be honest, I cannot stand the taste of mushrooms. I've tried all of the common varieties cooked in every way possible, and I can tolerate them when they're pan-fried in oil and sauce, but that's not exactly ideal for longevity. So instead, I use a mushroom powder blend and swallow it in packets. You can learn more about how I do this in my full day of eating for muscle and longevity. There will be a link in the description. Now, unlike Allison, ergothioneine holds up well to cooking, so you don't need to eat mushrooms raw to benefit. A few servings of mushrooms per week, roughly 100 grams raw per serving, or about 1 to 2 tablespoons of mushroom powder, should provide meaningful amounts of this longevity vitamin. The next longevity food on our list is flaxseed. Flax seeds are rare in that they support several major aging pathways at the same time, from hormone balance to cardiovascular health, metabolic function, and inflammation control. One of the biggest reasons flax is so powerful is its exceptionally high lignin content. Lignins are a unique class of phytoestrogens that help modulate hormone activity, which becomes increasingly important with age. Studies show that women with higher lignin intake have a 33 to 70% lower risk of dying from breast cancer. And remarkably, just 2 teaspoons of flaxseed per day have been shown to significantly reduce menopausal symptoms, performing on par with hormone therapy in controlled trials. But the benefits don't stop at hormone health. Flax seeds are also one of the most researched foods for cardiovascular and metabolic protection, 2 pillars of healthy aging. They've been shown to lower LDL cholesterol, improve artery function, reduce inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein and lipoprotein A, and they're among the most effective blood pressure reducing foods ever studied. Flax also helps stabilize blood sugar and supports healthy weight management, both of which strongly influence longevity. On top of that, flax seeds are the richest dietary source of the omega-3 fatty acid ALA. ALA supports heart health, reduces inflammation, and is consistently linked with lower cardiovascular and all-cause mortality in large population studies. And the daily amount that you need for these benefits is quite small, about 1 tablespoon of ground flax seeds. It's really easy to sprinkle on oatmeal, blend into smoothies, or mix into sauces and baked goods. One important tip is to always grind your flax seeds. Whole seeds pass right through your digestive tract intact, which means that you're gonna miss many of the benefits. I like to grind a few days worth at a time using a coffee grinder or a high-powered blender, and then store them in an airtight container like a mason jar in the fridge or freezer. Once the hard outer shell of the seeds are broken, the delicate omega-3 fats are exposed to air, light, and heat, which speeds up oxidation, the process that makes oils go rancid. So keeping them cool, dark, and sealed is really important to maintain their freshness. You can buy pre-ground flaxseed, but I personally prefer grinding it fresh. When it comes to longevity, nuts consistently rise to the top, and walnuts are the standout. A large analysis of nutrition studies found that just 1 serving of nuts per day, about 1 ounce, was linked to a 24% lower risk of premature death. By comparison, each daily serving of vegetables vegetables lowered risk by about 4%, legumes by about 4%, fruit by 6%, and whole grains by 8%. Really impressive stuff, especially for walnuts. Regular nut consumption is linked to lower risks of dying from heart disease, stroke, diabetes, respiratory illness, infections, and even cancer, together covering more than half of the top 10 causes of death. Walnuts offer a unique advantage for brain health. They're one of the richest plant-based sources of the omega-3 fat ALA, right up there with flaxseed, and by far the top ALA source among all nuts. And in a 2020 review on walnuts and brain health, eating about 1 to 2 ounces of walnuts per day was linked to better cognitive function and a lower risk of cognitive impairment and dementia, largely thanks to their combination of ALA and polyphenols. Nature is so cool. Look at these little walnuts. They look just like a little miniature plant brain. And these actually taste super good. Large, long-term studies keep highlighting the power of walnuts. In the Predimed trial, they were the nut most strongly linked with lower cancer risk, and in the Harvard Nurses Health Study, they were the only nut significantly associated with healthier aging. People eating more than 3 servings of walnuts per week had a 54% lower risk of dying from cancer, even after adjusting for lifestyle factors. Walnuts also boast the highest antioxidant levels of any nut and are uniquely proven to improve artery function, a key marker of cardiovascular health. No other nut has demonstrated such a strong, consistent benefit for vascular function in clinical trials. For most people, a practical target is about a quarter cup, which is roughly 1 ounce of walnuts per day. I'm sure it's no surprise to you that berries in general are great for longevity. In a nationally representative study of more than 37,000 US adults followed for about 8 years, people who ate berries regularly had a 21% lower risk of dying from any cause compared to those who rarely ate them. But not all berries have the same nutrient density or antioxidant power, and that is where blackberries really stand out. Blackberries rise to the top so consistently that they earn a place on this top longevity foods list all by themselves. In fact, in our fruit ranking video where we analyzed 56 different fruits, blackberries ranked #1 overall. And we never officially gave them their gold medal. So here you go, guys. There's your gold medal. Congratulations. You guys are delicious. Blackberries contain more antioxidants per cup than strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, or cranberries, and that makes them the most antioxidant-rich fruits that you can buy at the grocery store. Large cohort data show that the antioxidant intake associated with a 7% lower risk of premature death can be reached with roughly 3/4 of a cup of blackberries. More specifically, blackberries are loaded with anthocyanins, the pigments that give them their deep purple color. These are powerful flavonoid antioxidants that not only neutralize free radicals, but also help activate your body's own defense systems, which is why higher anthocyanin intakes are linked to lower inflammation, better blood vessel function, and slower cognitive aging. On top of that, blackberries pack substantial fiber, vitamin C, and a wide range of other plant defense compounds, giving you one of the most concentrated packages of longevity supporting nutrients that you can get from any fruit. As a quick side note on antioxidant packed fruits, amla, which is also known as Indian gooseberries, are the highest antioxidant whole food ever tested. But they are very hard to find fresh in the United States, so I take a small amount in powder form every day. Now, fresh and frozen berries both work equally well. Research shows that freezing preserves most of the nutrients and antioxidant capacity, and frozen berries are usually less expensive, last for months in your freezer, and are generally available year-round. I always like to keep a mix of frozen blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, and strawberries on hand and eat a blend of all 4 as part of my daily longevity breakfast. Now, each berry brings its own unique mix of polyphenols and antioxidants, so combining them gives you a broader benefit than relying on just one type. A daily cup of mixed berries is one of the simplest and most reliable longevity habits that you can build. So soy foods stand out in the longevity research because they deliver 2 compounds that directly influence how our cells age: spermidine and isoflavones. To understand why soy is so powerful, you need to understand what these actually do in our body. Let's start with spermidine. Every cell in your body has a built-in housekeeping system that clears out old or damaged parts so the cell can keep working properly. As we age, that cleanup system slows down and cellular clutter begins to build up. Spermidine acts like a signal that tells your cells to switch that cleanup system back on. That process is called autophagy. When autophagy is active, cells run more efficiently, accumulate less damage, and function like younger cells. Now, your body and gut bacteria do make some spermidine on their own, but human blood levels of spermidine drop by roughly 60% between midlife and older age. What's fascinating is that people who live into their 90s and 100s tend to maintain much higher spermidine levels similar to younger adults. That doesn't mean spermidine rises in our 90s and 100s. It means that people who keep higher levels are more likely to survive into extreme old age. In other words, spermidine looks less like a marker of aging and more like a marker of longevity. Tempeh, edamame, whole soybeans, and soy milk all rank among the top dietary sources of spermidine, and tempeh contains more per serving than any other food. In a large prospective study that followed adults for up to 20 years, people with the highest spermidine intake had a significantly lower risk of death from all causes, even after adjusting for overall diet and lifestyle. The authors noted that the size of the survival benefit was comparable to being about 5.7 years younger on average, highlighting spermidine as one of the strongest longevity-associated dietary compounds identified in human nutrition research. As an interesting side note, spermidine may even help protect against hair loss, since hair follicles naturally produce it to support the growth phase of the hair cycle. All right, I have a little hankering for some soy milk. Next, let's talk about isoflavones. Isoflavones are the second primary longevity compound in soy, and these are a type of phytoestrogen, plant compounds that can bind to estrogen receptors in your body, but much more weakly than your own estrogen hormones. Instead of overwhelming those receptors with a strong hormone signal, they act as gentle modulators. When estrogen levels are high, they can compete for receptor binding and slightly tone down the estrogenic signal. And when estrogen levels are low, such as after menopause, they can provide a mild estrogen-like effect. That balancing act is why isoflavones are so effective for easing hot flashes and supporting bone health. Soy also stands out in cancer research. Across studies following more than 10,000 breast cancer survivors, women who consumed more soy after diagnosis lived longer and had lower recurrence rates. Even small amounts, just 5 grams of soy protein a day, which you can get in less than a cup of soy milk, were linked to a 12% reduction in breast cancer mortality. And a 2025 umbrella review of meta-analyses found that people who ate the most soy had substantially lower death rates from several cancers, including roughly 40% lower colorectal cancer mortality, 50% lower gastric cancer mortality, and 20% lower lung cancer mortality. From a nutrition standpoint, soy also provides an impressive amino acid profile, along with omega-3 fats and key minerals like iron and calcium. That combination makes soy one of the most efficient foods for supporting muscle, metabolic health, and longevity. A practical daily target is about 2 servings of soy foods, such as half a cup of edamame, a cup of soy milk, or 3 to 4 ounces of tofu or tempeh. Among all soy foods, tempeh stands out for healthy aging because it's especially rich in spermidine, and as a fermented food, it's also great for your gut health. According to the Dietary Inflammatory Index, which ranks foods based on their effects on inflammation across hundreds of studies, turmeric consistently ranks as the single most anti-inflammatory food ever tested, with ginger and garlic close behind. That matters because chronic low-grade inflammation is now seen as a central driver of aging itself, a process scientists often call inflammaging. Persistent background inflammation speeds up wear and tear inside the body, damages DNA, and increases the risk of major age-related diseases like heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and cognitive decline. Turning that inflammatory dial down is therefore one of the most effective ways that we know of to help the body age more slowly. The active compound in turmeric is curcumin, the bright golden yellow pigment that gives turmeric its color. Curcumin helps reduce inflammation throughout the body and protects DNA from oxidative damage. In human clinical trials, turmeric has been shown to reduce pain and stiffness in arthritis, improve symptoms of inflammatory digestive conditions, support lung and skin health, and lower blood markers of systemic inflammation. And these are not subtle effects. In some studies, turmeric performs similarly to common anti-inflammatory medications, but without the side effects. Beyond its anti-inflammatory effects, early lab and human studies suggest that curcumin may help to lower cancer risk and support better memory and cognitive function as we age, though this research is still developing. One important detail is absorption. Curcumin on its own is poorly absorbed, but pairing turmeric with a small pinch of black pepper can increase its bioavailability by up to 20 times, making a meaningful difference in how much your body can actually use. A practical daily amount is about a quarter teaspoon of turmeric powder, ideally taken with a pinch of black pepper. You can mix it into foods like lentil dishes, curries, tofu scrambles, or soups, but I usually just take a quarter teaspoon with the next food in a potato starch packet. And that next food is ginger. Turmeric is an anti-inflammatory powerhouse, and its close cousin, ginger, deserves just as much attention. Ginger earns a spot on our top 10 list because it addresses several major drivers of aging: chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, and heart and metabolic risk. I actually thought that both of these were root vegetables, but according to ChatGPT, they are not, botanically speaking. They are rhizomes, which are modified stems. That means that they have nodes, buds, and the ability to sprout shoots. True roots do not have those features. You learn something new every day. Scientists use a framework called the 12 hallmarks of aging to study how and why we age. In a large 2024 scientific review, researchers evaluated ginger across all 12 hallmarks and found favorable effects in every single one. Very few foods have ever shown that level of power when it comes to longevity. So what does this actually mean in real life? Well, one of ginger's biggest strengths is metabolic health. As we age, the way our bodies handle blood sugar and energy becomes one of the strongest predictors of long-term health. Human studies show that ginger can improve blood sugar control, insulin sensitivity, cholesterol levels, and triglyceride levels. In simple terms, ginger helps the body to use fuel more efficiently, effectively taking stress off nearly every organ system. Ginger also supports mitochondrial health. Mitochondria are the tiny little energy factories inside of our cells, and their decline is a major feature of aging. Research shows that ginger supports healthier, more efficient mitochondria and helps cells clear out damaged ones. That matters for energy, muscle function, and brain health as we get older. Another area where ginger shines is in the gut. Ginger consistently improves gut balance by increasing beneficial bacteria and reducing harmful ones, which affects immunity, metabolism, and inflammation. As a side note, ginger is also one of the most well-studied natural remedies for nausea. Ginger has been shown to reduce nausea related to motion sickness, pregnancy, chemotherapy, and surgery. And just like turmeric, the cool thing about ginger is you don't need that much to get its benefits. About 1/4 of a teaspoon of ginger powder daily is enough for general health, with higher amounts up to 1 teaspoon supported in studies for pain and inflammation. Any standard ginger powder will work just fine. And you're welcome to use fresh ginger if you want, but dried ginger is actually more concentrated and thus more effective. The dehydration process boosts the amount of active anti-inflammatory compounds, which is why ginger powder tends to be the most potent and practical option. So those are the top 10 most powerful foods that we have for slowing aging and supporting long-term health. Again, if you want an easy way to actually put all of this into practice, then be sure to download our free top 10 longevity foods guide. It pulls together all of the key takeaways from this video, including optimal serving sizes, simple prep tips, and a daily checklist to make eating these foods as easy and realistic as possible. And since you made this far, it's clear that you genuinely care about your health and how you age. I deeply care about that too, and helping people like you to thrive on plants has become my life's mission. That's why I make these videos and why I launched our 101 health and fitness coaching program back in 2018, called the Vegan Superhero Academy. As a thank you for watching to the end of this video and for being part of the Vegan Gym community, you can apply for a free month of 101 coaching inside our program. We've helped thousands of people look and feel their best while supporting long-term health and longevity, and we're proud to be the top-rated vegan health and fitness program in the world. This free month is simply a chance to get started, build real momentum, and see if our coaching program is a good fit for you. If you decide to continue with us after 30 days, then awesome. And if not, then you'll still walk away with habits and progress that you can carry forward on your own. So if you're ready to take your health and fitness to the next level with 30 days of free coaching, then click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to learn more. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to this channel so my team and I can keep sharing practical, evidence-based content like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.